The story begins in a dark dungeon of the Red North Ocean, which only level 550 and above can enter. At this time, someone was fighting against the boss monster, which is a 3C dragon god's level 552. The boss has gone mad trying to catch the player. However, the player was too elusive. This player was a level 559 musketeer, Ted. He was kneeling on the ground and said, "Not only are they ugly, they're also tough bastards." Ted was referring to the boss monster. He then shoots it with his gun and hits one of its head. The monster was screaming in pain. Its feature is its 3 large heads. At first glance, it looks like a design imitating Cerberus, but as the heads decrease, the attack patterns become more powerful, increasing the difficulty. After hitting the boss monster, Ted immediately swallows a bullet pill that gives him an additional penetration rate and additional critical rate. He had taken one of the boss heads, but he was aware it was still dangerous to continue solo. He was thinking of another method, but he was distracted when he saw the boss monster casting another set of attacks. Ted was sighting it. He was dumbfounded. The boss monster swung his hand, and Ted immediately ran away. The boss then released his attack, intending to kill Ted with it. His attack creates a strong blow. He was laughing as he saw his attack successfully landed. He was expecting to see the dead body of Ted. However, Ted vanished. He was confused, but then he heard a voice from his back saying that everything went according to plan. As expected, it was Ted. Ted was pointing his gun at the boss while floating. He proclaims that he is waiting to blow off the remaining heads at once. Ted's face was wet. He was smiling and said, "Farewell, 3C dragon gods." The boss monster screamed. But before it could do anything, Ted shot its 2 heads at once. Ted landed on the ground while staring at the system that congratulated him as the first in this world to defeat a level 550 boss monster solo and achieve the lonely boss hunter. He leveled up several times and reached level 600. He leaned on the dead monster and laughed. He then stated that he is expected to make something work if he puts in the effort. He stares at the monster's head and realizes that it is only normal considering the time spent on figuring out how to clear this dungeon. The high-level boss monsters have of course specific trap items. One is the flavor's deadly poisons, which are hard to obtain even at auctions, plus various cursed tools for debuffs, sacred scrolls for buffs, and even potions for doping. Ted was thinking that he might have overdone it a bit, as he spent almost $1 billion in 2 weeks. But he concludes that he should break even if he sells all the items he got. More importantly, he got what he was targeting from the very beginning. The essence of the sea god, a deep blue gem dropped by the boss of this dungeon. This gem, which flows like water, can cool down any head in an instant. Ted was glad it dropped on the first try, considering its low drop rate. He feels so lucky, but he has a bad feeling. He gulped, wondering if things had ever gone this smoothly for him in all his years of gaming. The virtual reality RPG has dominated the world since its release and still remains at the top. The game was called Face Chronicle. Ted, with his innate genius for gaming and unique playstyle, grew rapidly, and after 3 years, he has become a skilled player ranked within the top 100 in the national rankings. However, he had one fatal problem. It was his extremely bad luck. The territory he built with great effort was destroyed by an earthquake event. The guild members he had painstakingly gathered were in a traffic accident the day before a siege. In the end, after a series of misfortune, he left all his affiliations and chose the path of solo play. If only his luck was this bad in real life too, he could have accepted it. To be so unlucky only in games, it's like he's possessed by something. But Ted thought that such bad luck ended today since the information he had gained this time was worth that much. Meanwhile, he arrived at the hot dungeon of the Flame Hell Mountain Range, which only level 600 and above can enter. The boss of this dungeon is the Inferno Orochi, and this boss monster enters a molting stage once a year. During the molting period, it enters a weak and defenseless hibernation state, but at the same time, it creates an indestructible rock-like shell OT encase itself. In the end, due to this molting, the molding period effectively becomes an unattackable rest period. The information Ted obtained this time is a method to peel off that invincible shell and wake up the weakened body. Ted was climbing the cliff, and as he landed on the ground, he noticed that it was quite desolate around. He was holding the gem thinking that this dungeon was a perfect place to use it. "I'm counting on you, essence of the sea god," he uttered. He then dropped it on the cliff, and as it landed, someone's eyes opened. Above was Ted drinking so much potion to prepare himself. A cloud of smoke comes out from the cliff. Ted knew that this was a sign that the boss was coming. Something exploded. The boss monster, Inferno Orochi, a level 650, appeared. Ted then aimed his gun at the boss monster. He shot it several times, and it was screaming in agony. Ted then smiled as he confirmed that he could deal damage to the boss monster even with the level difference, because it was weakened from molting. The boss stares at him with anger. It suddenly charged toward him and intended to attack him. However, he managed to dodge away, and he was annoyed knowing that he was wrong in his conclusion. Now he found out that the boss' movement speed and attack power remained the same, and he could not accept the fact that it took half his health just by grazing him. The boss was screaming as it intended to hit Ted with its breath attack. Ted was panicking. Ted then rolled over while shooting it. The boss ends up hitting the ground combined with the flame of Ted. Fortunately, only Ted's coat was affected. Ted was lying on the ground. He was sweating knowing that he would have been hit directly if he hadn't dodged using the recoil from the shot. He rises while thinking that the basic level difference still matters, even if it's already weakened. He was afraid by the fact that he would be done if he took a direct hit from something like that. He looked behind him, and he was blank as he realized that he should face instant death. He didn't manage to dodge. Just calculating based on the level difference alone, he deduces that his win rate, even optimistic, is only 30%. "All right, you snake bastard. Let's do this," he uttered with annoyance. He then released his bullet and fought bravely. After 2 days of fighting, Ted finally defeated it. He was panting while lying comfortably on the ground. He believes that his body is now at its limit. He looked at the dead body of the boss beside him while thinking that it was too much to fight for 2 days straight without sleeping. Ted succeeds in the server's first solo raid against Inferno Orochi. The user of the character Ted was Amano Kyohei. His gaming capsule beeped the moment he opened it. He rose and stretched his body while saying that staying in the capsule for too long wasn't good. He headed to his bed to get some sleep, but then he realized something he needed to do. He went to his PC and uploaded his replay match against the 3 Sea Dragons and the Inferno Orochi. He then laughed as he proclaimed he would watch these videos in the future. He then continued heading to this bed and uttered, "Please enjoy Amano Kyohei." At this time, no one could have known what these 2 videos he uploaded would trigger and what consequences this event would bring to him. While sleeping, he wasn't aware that the views of the videos he uploaded had reached hundreds of thousands of views. The next day in the computer shop nearby, some people were intrigued about the video Amano Kyohei uploaded yesterday. One guy wouldn't believe it when his friend shared about it, but when he saw it himself, he was in disbelief. He didn't think that a player would manage to defeat a level 650 boss. They were wondering if it was just edited, but then it was impossible since the video was 40 hours unedited. And if it was edited, the production costs would be higher. Kyohei named his channel as Ted, and the name was unfamiliar to the viewers. They even looked it up and was barely in the top 100 national rankings. Knowing that Fast Chronicle has a duplicate, they conclude that Kyohei's uploaded video might be a scam. But someone replied that there is no skill to defeat a boss mob alone with a crappy class like Musketeer. Few days later, Kyohei started his streaming. He decided to stream a few days ago, which is why there were already people waiting for his stream. For today's game, he declared to start his hunting strategy. He was standing at the cliff, staring at the Ogre King below. He's planning to hunt these monsters, and according to him, these monsters usually act alone, but sometimes are in a group just like what he was seeing right now. He also added that the surrounding small mobs also increase accordingly, making it difficult to approach. He then released a bullet as he explained that before drawing the ogre's aggro, with a power that never misses, they should surely take out one Ogre King. As expected, he hits one Ogre King's head and instantly eliminates it. He then said, while waiting for the skill's cooldown before they can counterattack, "Let's quickly move in and attack all at once." He then lands on the ground and attacks some of the small mobs one by one. He stated that they normally defeat Ogre Kings slowly with sniping, but when 2 or more are grouped together, they can defeat them more easily. While approaching one, he first targets the Ogre King. While dodging attacks from the monsters, he draws the aggro of another Ogre King. After that, he stuns the Ogre King that attacks first and avoids its attack. He added that if the player can avoid the attack, then it's over. As per Kyohei, Ogre Kings have no sense of kinship, so they attack the target that dealt the most damage. After that, the player should clean up the surrounding small mobs until only one of the two remains. After showing it to his viewers, he then said, "That concludes the strategy for defeating a group of ogre kings." At the same time, lady named Radisa was currently watching his uploaded videos. She calls her assistant Thomas and asks him if he already have negotiated Ted's appearance. Thomas then replied that the uploader Ted is not good at speaking, so a talk show is impossible. It turned out that Radisa was working on a talk show and planning to interview Kyohei. She said that Ted's comments are simple and is unfamiliar with the process, so she believes it would be awkward for him. But for her, Ted has overwhelming charisma and skill that covers for his awkwardness, which is why she wants him to appear on her show. Back to Kyohei's point of view, he ended his stream. He sighed and said that he never thought the day would come when he did a personal stream. He thought he was going to faint when he woke up, and suddenly his video had gone viral. Still, he was shocked his subscribers would increase 300 times in just one day. He proclaimed that he could now say goodbye to misfortune and keep increasing his recognition and income to become a ranker. While thinking about the rosy life that awaits him, he suddenly receives a call from an anonymous caller. Just by looking at it, he instantly knew it was a call from someone who offered him the talk show the other day. He declined the call, which made Thomas devastated. He received another call, and this time, he answered it. The caller said he was from CGTV who saw Ted's hunting view and wanted to work with him, which is why they contacted him. As per the caller, they admired Ted's skill in defeating Orochi alone. They offered to send a charter fight for Kyohei right away and were hoping Kyohei would escort them. But then, Kyohei refused to accept it and said he would contact again later on. He then dropped the call while thinking that CGTV is one of the 7 great powerful guilds, and he was wondering if this guild was scouting him. He was mad while thinking about it, knowing that CGTV has a bad background. Among the companies that entered the in-game business of Face Chronicle, the 7 guilds were recognized by the management. The 7 great powerful guilds among them, CGTV and Alibaba, divide China between them. Those guys were famous for discrimination, which is why he didn't like them thinking they were scouting him. The night came, Kyohei went to a market. He ordered someone to dismantle the Inferno Orochi's core and the 3 Sea Dragon God's core. The worker was hesitant, knowing that it cannot be restored once dismantled. Kyohei then said he knew and commanded the worker to do what he said quickly. The worker doesn't have a choice but to do what Kyohei wants. It's a shame for Kyohei to lose hundreds of millions of yen, but it was also weird for him that CGTV Guild suddenly contacted him just to defeat a boss mob. After the dismantling process, Kyohei shockingly found out that the 3 Sea Dragon God's core belonged to CGTV, while the Inferno Orochi's core belonged to Alibaba. Now he realizes that both guilds were taming boss mobs, the act of domesticating monsters. Kyohei was mad, knowing that it was an illegal act impossible in the system. He didn't know more, but he was sure that those guilds were using dirty tricks on the boss monsters. He defeated both the Orochi and the Sea Dragon, and even uploaded a video of it, but now the core was named to the other guilds. He suddenly punched the table, thinking that he was too unlucky, as he now knew that both boss monsters he accidentally defeated were related to big corporations. He thought his bad luck was over, but now he was disappointed for expecting too much. He suddenly received a call. At the same time, he concludes that the big corporation would surely find him. He was thinking of a way and luckily saw Radisa in his inbox. He then typed a message for Radisa without knowing that there were people standing behind him. He was being attacked without any words, and he immediately turned his head around the moment he heard the swooshing noise. A blood splattered as his cheek had a scratch. The unknown people walked toward him, and one of them said that Ted's detection ability seemed higher than they thought. These people were wearing armor, and the one with the yellow armor was asking Kyohei why he was messing with their stuff. Kyohei didn't respond. He was mad by the fact that these enemies had a unique grade of equipment, which meant they were hard to defeat. You probably know what you've done, right? Do you know how much damage we've suffered because of you? The yellow-armored guy asked. Kyohei then replied, You think I did it on purpose? If you're taming them anyway, you should have put a name tag on them, or something. A handle of Hell's hungry ghost then appeared and grabbed Kyohei, then pushed him on the ground. A guy with scars in the face was standing in front of Kyohei. Kyohei knew this guy was Manhwa, a world-class ranker from Alibaba. This is not a request. This is an order. Whether it was intentional or not doesn't matter to us. If you understand, then quietly. Manhwa said, But his words were cut when Kyohei showed him something and said, "You said earlier that my detection ability was high, right?" "That's correct. I noticed right away." It turned out that Kyohei was planning to tell Radisa, the world's #1 in-game streaming viewership, that 2 of the 7 great powerful guilds were involved in illegal activities. He scared Manhwa it would cause an uproar. Manhwa was furious. Kyohei then told Manhwa that he would send the email to Radisa if he tried to lay a finger on him. "So what will you do?" he asked. A week later, Kyohei started his stream in front of a blacksmith. His stream today surprises his viewers as they proclaim that today isn't Ted's usual streaming day. They were curious to know the reason for the sudden stream, and as per Kyohei, he had some sad news for everyone. According to him, this will be his last stream due to personal circumstances. The viewers weren't in favor of his decision, and they were hoping Ted was just fooling them. They weren't aware that Kyohei's main reason was that his character Ted would disappear from this game world forever. A week ago, he was punished by Manhwa using the seal of the arrogant monarch. He was cursed persistently. His body was invaded by the shadow of the dead, Hell's eyes were memorizing his body, and Doom Alarm was dominating his body. At that time, Kyohei could not be able to resist. Even the toughest guy is done for when they die. You have 1 week. During that time, delete your character and its email. If you refuse, I'll keep killing not just your body, but everyone around you with eternal PK. Manhwa proclaimed. Kyohei was mad. He scared the monarch that he would be finished once his illegal activities were exposed. However, Manhwa wasn't in fear and just told Ted that even if he exposed them, people would still forget it for about less than a year. He gave Kyohei a choice to disappear alone or just die together with everyone around him. Manhwa then turned around and added, "I hope to never encounter that character again. That will settle everything nicely." Even after that, Ted didn't give up. He tried various methods, but the curse never broke until the end. It has been 10 years since Kyohei started Face Chronicle with his family. He can't delete the characters he has raised like his own avatars just because of him alone. Fortunately, he has some leverage on them too. As long as he keeps his promise, those people won't touch his family. All he knew was that Manhwa only wanted his character to disappear. He can create another account, so he decided to just delete the current one and start over from scratch. He has experienced it once, so he believes it will be easy to do it again. As he clicks his window, a tear of him drops, and the reason is that deleting Ted is honestly not okay for him. He was crying so much as he could not accept the fact that he was too unlucky to delete the crystallization of his efforts that he had poured everything into for 10 years with his own hands. He cannot just let go of his black and white weapon. Only 1,000 in the whole world had this, a unique class equipment musket, with only 2 in the country. Amano Kyohei obtained this item by hunting 100,000 undead alone for 3 years in an SS-class quest. It's genuine proof of effort to overcome his terrible luck. He was holding the weapon thinking that he could probably sell it at auction for 100 million, but he can't even imagine someone else using it. As long as this weapon remains, he can't just delete Ted as he wants to see the weapon through to the end with his own hands. He kept telling himself that this weapon was the crystallization of his efforts until the very end by his own hands. For the last content, I'd like to show you the soul engraving that I haven't shown on stream yet. Kyohei said. His viewers had a lot of questions for him, and other than that, they were waiting for the soul engraving. Soul engraving is the strongest equipment enhancement that raises all options by 20%. The success rate for unique class equipment is fixed at 10%, but the equipment destruction rate upon failure is 100%. Ted then took a look at his options, and it was said that the 9th gun was made by the greatest musket master Adasian by melting fragments of Heaven's Gate with hellfire. Some of Kyohei's viewers gave their different opinions. Someone named Cucumber said that if Ted is quitting, he won't stop him. It's just that it is funny for him to see someone planning to invest so much in enhancement before quitting the game. There was also one who said that Ted should distribute the gun in an event if he quit, since there are only 80 unique pieces of equipment in Japan. Kyohei was still sad knowing that there was no point in upgrading his weapon, even if it succeeded. He has to delete Ted anyway, but if upgrading the weapon makes him let go of it, he decides to continue his decision since he was expecting it would be broken. Since I haven't been able to do anything for my viewers until now, I'll leave you with one lesson that gambling is wrong, and then retire for good, he uttered to his viewers. He declared to start the soul engraving, but he closed his eyes while saying goodbye to his weapon. The blacksmith was shocked when Kyohei's weapon shone. He then congratulated Ted, saying that the enhancement was successful. Kyohei himself was also shocked. Now, his black and white weapon is already +1 and has an additional 24% boss attack damage, 36% skill attack damage, 24% defense ignore, and an additional 144 to its stats. It also had additional aerial reload skills. One of Kyohei's viewers then told him it was a sign that he should not stop streaming. Kyohei was shaking as he commanded the blacksmith to try it one more time. The blacksmith was shocked upon hearing it. Most of the viewers disagreed and called Kyohei an idiot. Kyohei was crying secretly. All he wanted to do now was to let his weapon break so he could erase it from his memories without regrets. A blinding light emerges. Kyohei opened his eyes, and the blacksmith congratulated him once again since the soul engraving was successful for the second time. Still, it was successful, which means that the soul engraving of Kyohei's weapon had 3 consecutive successes. The viewers were in disbelief, since this thing really doesn't happen normally. Right now, Kyohei was wondering if the God of Fortune really existed. Even so, he still wished his weapon to break, knowing that he was already finished and needed to disappear. He told the blacksmith to try it again, and still the same cycle happened. The blacksmith just followed what he wanted. After 7 tries, the blacksmith handed him his weapon, while saying that he had never seen someone as lucky as him. Kyohei's weapon this time was flaming. It is now a +7 back and white gun. Kyohei was speechless as he was thinking that the current market price for unique class weapon enhancement was in the billions. 7 enhancements at 20% each plus just the basic weapon performance is over 300%. It's nearly 3.5 times the usual power, but at this level, he knew it wasn't enough to escape the hands of Alibaba and CGTV, and probably cannot even beat Manhwa. He was hopeless, believing that having a +7 enhanced weapon doesn't change anything. He could also sell the weapon for 10 billion, but he knew there was no point in getting a huge amount of money after deleting Ted. From his early 20s until now, Ted is Kyohei's character whom he has raised for 10 years, putting his life into it, which is why he cannot accept that he needed to start from level 1 again just because of a threat from some incomprehensible guy. The feeling of emptiness for him can't be filled with money or anything else. Kyohei stares at his weapon, wondering what would happen if he really succeeded in an enhancement strong enough to change the situation. There is no problem for him if he fails, but he concludes it is bad if people find out once he succeeded, so ended his streaming. He then asked the blacksmith to try the soul engraving again, and the blacksmith followed what he asked for. After a few minutes, the weapon was enhanced to +9. Kyohei was speechless in disbelief. From the moment soul engraving succeeds 8 times, that weapon becomes impossible for an individual to own. The state intervenes to buy the ownership rights, or major guilds desperately try to secure ownership. A single weapon gains significance comparable to a strategic weapon. There are only 8 + 9 enhanced unique items known to the public worldwide. Its value is tens of billions of yen. Kyohei was shaking while thinking that there were no +10 enhanced weapons known to the public. He knows of at least 4 weapons that failed at +10 enhancements. While thinking, the system notifies him that his heart rate has exceeded 200, and he suggested to take a break before continuing the game. As per the system, if the heart rate exceeds 250, the game may be forcibly interrupted for user safety. Kyohei tried to calm himself to make a cool judgment like always. Ted is Kyohei's youth as his life itself, which is why he doesn't want to lose Ted, even if someone offers a large sum of money. He wants an enhancement level that can handle Alibaba and CGTV alone. Attack power increases 1.2 times with each enhancement. +9 is far from enough, as he needs his weapon to be at least 32 times stronger. He suddenly opened his inventory and grabbed a potion. His self is more important to him than money, especially the character he has poured everything into. The potion he grabbed is a berserk potion. It is absorbed into the body for 10 minutes, neural acceleration increases by 30%, and attack power increases by 20%. The system gave him a warning that the item had side effects. His body control decreases by 80%, and the status effects are rage and physical and mental weakening. He was hoping he could get a +19 weapon, knowing that +18 below isn't enough. He went berserk while commanding the blacksmith to enhance the weapon again. The blacksmith notices the changes in his eyes. He was hesitant to follow what Kyohei wanted, but Kyohei had gone mad and screamed at him. The blacksmith then started the soul enhancement again. Every time it enhances, a golden light emerges. He cannot believe that it still succeeded numerous times in a row. The moment it reached +9, a voice then echoed, "We finally meet, one who sought me. Just as you found me, I too have been searching for you." That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. Till next time.